My girlfriend called me her safe backup while sleeping with my best friend right in front of me. But unexpectedly, her own best friend exposed everything and helped me build an empire while they lost everything. I'm Sebastian, 34 years old, and until 6 months ago, I believed I had my life all figured out. I had a beautiful girlfriend named Daniela, who I'd been with for 4 years, a best friend from college named Tomas, who was like my brother, and a stable job as a sales manager at a tech company. Everything seemed perfect until that Friday night, when I came home early and found Tomas's clothes thrown in my living room. I didn't have to open my bedroom door to confirm what I already knew. The sounds were clear enough. I stood in the hallway for what felt like hours, but it was probably only 30 seconds, feeling like everything I knew was falling apart. The betrayal didn't just come from Daniela, but also from Tomas, the man I'd considered my brother for more than a decade. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just took my phone, took pictures of the scattered clothes as evidence, and left the apartment. I went to the only place where I knew I could think clearly, a small bar near work where I used to go after difficult meetings. I ordered a whiskey and sat at the bar trying to process what I'd just discovered. It was there that I received an unexpected call. It was Natalia, Daniela's best friend since high school, a brilliant woman, a corporate lawyer, with whom I'd shared several dinners and social gatherings, but with whom I'd never had a deep conversation. "Sebastian, I need to talk to you urgently," her voice said on the other end of the line, sounding tense and worried. "Where are you?" I gave her the bar's address, and 15 minutes later I saw her walk in. Her face showed a mix of fury and determination that I'd never seen on her before. She sat in front of me and bluntly told me, "I know about Daniela and Tomas. And you need to know this didn't start today." Natalia took out her phone and showed me screenshots of conversations between Daniela and other friends from their group. Messages dating back 8 months where Daniela made fun of me, calling me boring and predictable while describing her encounters with Tomas in detail. She talked about how I was just her safe plan while she explored what she really wanted with someone more exciting. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked her, feeling the betrayal deepen with every message I read. "Because I stopped being her friend the day I read these messages 3 weeks ago," Natalia replied in a firm voice. "I told her what she was doing was despicable and that if she didn't tell you, I would." She blocked me from everywhere and told the others I was jealous of her relationship. I took another sip of whiskey while I processed this information. Natalia continued, "I've been gathering evidence since then, not just of the infidelity, but of other things I discovered. Daniela has been using your credit card to buy gifts for Tomas, expenses you probably haven't even checked." Sure enough, when I checked my bank account that night, I found multiple charges at expensive men's clothing stores, exclusive restaurants, and even a luxury hotel. All on dates when Daniela was supposedly working late or with her friends. They had spent over $15,000 in 3 months. The fury I felt at that moment wasn't explosive, but cold and calculating. Natalia looked at me and said something that would change everything. "I know this hurts, but I can help you make this betrayal cost them more than they ever imagined." For the next 2 hours, Natalia and I laid out a plan. She had access to information I didn't know about. Daniela had been planning to quit her job and move in with Tomas using my savings. Additionally, Tomas had applied for a considerable loan using my name as a reference without my knowledge, taking advantage of the fact that we had shared accounts since our college days. "We need to act fast and strategically," Natalia warned me. "If we do this right, you'll not only get back what's yours, but they'll face the consequences of every lie they built." That night marked the beginning of something neither of us could have anticipated. What started as a plan for justice against a betrayal would end up transforming into a business partnership that would surpass anything I had ever imagined for my future. But before reaching success, I would have to go through the painful process of completely dismantling the life I had built with 2 people who turned out to be complete strangers. 3 days after that night at the bar, Daniela and Tomas still didn't know I was aware of their affair. They continued to act normally, or at least they tried to. Daniela sent me affectionate messages during the day asking me what I wanted for dinner, while Tomas called me to plan a soccer outing for the weekend. The hypocrisy was astonishing. Meanwhile, Natalia and I met every night after work in her office. She had obtained a temporary court order to freeze any movement in the shared accounts I had with Tomas, citing suspicious activity. She also contacted a private investigator who confirmed what we already suspected. Daniela and Tomas were meeting at least 3 times a week in the apartment I paid for while I was supposedly at work. Is there anything else you need to know? Natalia told me during one of our meetings, showing me another document. Daniela told Tomas you're about to receive a significant year-end bonus, around $50,000. They're waiting for that money to arrive to make their move. Indeed, I was expecting that bonus. It was the result of an exceptional year of sales and represented the possibility of finally making a serious investment. But Daniela had other plans for that money, plans that included financing her new life with my supposed best friend. When are they planning to leave? I asked. According to the messages I intercepted, the day after Christmas, Daniela already has the tickets bought to Cancun. 2 weeks at an all-inclusive resort. Courtesy of your credit card, of course. The date surprised me. It was only 2 months away. They had planned to spend the holidays with me, probably enjoying the family dinners and gifts, only to disappear with my money and my dignity afterward. Natalia closed her laptop and looked at me directly. Sebastian, I know this is devastating, but we have a window of opportunity here, not just to expose the betrayal, but to ensure they face real consequences. But I need to know if you're willing to go all the way with this. What do you have in mind? I asked, feeling more hardened with each revelation. Daniela works in marketing for a cosmetics company, right? Well, it turns out I represent 3 of her biggest competitors, and Tomas works in financial consulting, a field where reputation is everything. Natalia paused significantly. If we handle this correctly, they won't just lose your money, they'll lose much more. She explained her plan with surgical precision. First, we'd document every fraudulent transaction Daniela had made with my card. Second, we'd expose Tomas's misuse of my information to obtain loans. Third, and this was the most brilliant part, we'd use Natalia's professional connections to ensure their careers suffered the consequences of their personal actions. But there's something else, Natalia added, her voice taking on a different tone. I've been thinking about something since we started this. You have experience in sales and client management. I have the legal knowledge and the connections. What if instead of just getting revenge, we built something together? Something that shows them they didn't destroy us, but made us stronger? The proposal took me by surprise. Are you talking about a business? Exactly. I've been wanting to go independent from the law firm where I worked for years. You have the talent for sales and managing business relationships. We could create a consultancy that combines corporate legal services with sales and marketing strategies. Something innovative. For the next 30 minutes, Natalia detailed a business vision I would have never considered. Her contacts in the corporate industry, combined with my experience in technology and sales, could create a unique consulting firm. But beyond the business potential, I understood something deeper in her proposal. While Daniela and Tomas were trying to build their future on my ruins, we would build something real on solid foundations. Why would you do this for me? I asked her directly. We barely really know each other. Natalia sighed. Because Daniela didn't just betray you. For years I was her friend. I listened to her problems. I supported her through every crisis. And when I finally confronted her about what she was doing to you, when I tried to show her she was destroying a good person, she threw me away like I was trash. I realized she never valued loyalty. She just used people. There was something else in her eyes, a determination that went beyond simple revenge. Besides, she continued, I've seen how you handle difficult situations at work. I've watched you at those dinners and meetings. You're smart, ethical, and you know how to treat people with respect. Those are rare qualities. If we're going to do this, I want to do it with someone I can trust. That night, I left her office with a verbal agreement to form a business partnership, but also with a detailed plan to expose the betrayal in a way that Daniela and Tomas could never fully recover from. The justice we sought wouldn't just be personal, it would be professional and financial. Karma was about to collect its debt, and we would be its collectors. The following days were a strange mix of acting and preparation. During the day, I maintained my normal routine. I went to work, responded to Daniela's messages normally. I even met up with Tomas to watch a soccer game. Each interaction cost me more than I was willing to admit, but it was necessary. They couldn't suspect anything until we were ready. At night, I met with Natalia. We had turned her office into our headquarters. The walls were covered with timelines, financial documents, and photographic evidence. We looked like detectives in a TV series, except this was my real life falling apart and being rebuilt simultaneously. Look at this, Natalia told me one night. pointing at her screen. The detective found something interesting. Daniela isn't just cheating on you with Tomas. Apparently 2 months ago, she tried something similar with a coworker of hers, but the guy turned her down. She showed me messages the detective had obtained through the coworker in question, who agreed to cooperate when he learned of the situation. Daniela had sent him provocative photos and direct propositions, all while I was working overtime to pay for the vacation she had asked me for. There's a pattern here, Natalia continued, her voice taking on that analytical tone she used when building a legal case. Daniela seeks out men who can offer her something specific. That coworker had just received an inheritance. Tomas has access to valuable financial information through his job. And you? Well, you were the economic stability. The revelation hit me in a different way. It wasn't just that she had cheated on me out of passion or boredom. I had been strategically chosen for what I could provide. It was a transaction, not a relationship. Are you okay? Natalie asked, noting my expression. Yes, I replied, though I wasn't sure if it was true. I'm just processing that I was basically an ATM with feelings. Natalia got up and poured herself coffee from the machine she had bought specifically for our late-night sessions. Sebastian, I know it hurts, but that coldness Daniela shows is also her weakness. People who operate solely for personal gain eventually end up alone, and when that happens, no amount of money will fill that void. Meanwhile, we also discovered worrying information about Tomas. Not only had he used my name as a reference for a $30,000 loan he planned to use to open a business with Daniela after their escape to Cancun, but he had also been diverting clients from his consulting firm to a personal account. He was basically preparing his exit from the company where he worked, planning to take confidential information with him. This is legal gold, Natalia said, reviewing the documents the detective had obtained. With this, we can permanently sink his career. His firm has very strict clauses about unfair competition. If we present this evidence, they won't just fire him, they'll sue him for damages. And that doesn't put us at legal risk. I asked, worried about the implications. Everything we've gathered is legal, Natalia assured me. The detective worked within the bounds of the law. Daniela and Tomas incriminated themselves with their own behavior. We're just documenting facts. A week later, I received news that accelerated our plans. My boss informed me that the year-end bonus would be deposited on November 15th, 2 weeks earlier than expected. That meant Daniela and Tomas could move up their timeline. That same afternoon, Daniela casually mentioned during dinner that she'd seen an ad for a resort in Cancun with a special offer for December. We should go, she suggested with that smile that I once found charming and now only saw as calculating. It would be nice to spend New Year's on the beach, don't you think? Sure, honey, I replied, feeling nauseous for having to act. Let me check the dates at work. That night, I told Natalia about the conversation. She's getting impatient. I said, she probably knows the bonus is coming soon, so we need to move now. Natalia responded with determination. Tomorrow is Friday. On Monday, we'll present everything to the corresponding authorities, but before that, there's something we need to do this weekend. She explained her final plan. On Saturday, we'd host a dinner supposedly to celebrate my early bonus. We'd invite Daniela, Tomas, and some close friends. During that dinner, we'd expose everything in front of witnesses, not to publicly humiliate them just for revenge, but to establish a record of what happened before people who knew our situation. But there's one condition, Natalia added. After this, no more contact with them, no prolonged discussions, no attempts at explanations. We present the evidence, establish the legal consequences, and move on. Can you do that? I nodded, although a part of me still wanted answers I'd probably never get. At what point did Daniela stop loving me? Was Tomas ever really my friend? Was there any genuine moment between us, or had it all been a lie from the beginning? On Friday afternoon, while I waited for my last workday of the week to end, I received a message from Tomas. Bro, I need to talk to you. Do you have time this weekend? My stomach tightened. Had he discovered something? I replied cautiously. Sure. In fact, I'm hosting a dinner tomorrow. Why don't you come? Natalia will be there too. There was a long pause before his reply. Natalia, Daniela's friend. Yes, she's become a very good friend of mine lately. We've been seeing each other a lot. It wasn't a lie. I just omitted the context. Okay, I'll be there. That night, Natalia and I finalized the details. She had prepared individual folders with all the evidence. Fraudulent transactions, compromising messages, illegal loan documents, screenshots of the conversations where they made fun of me. Each folder was organized chronologically, ready to be presented not only to our guests, but also to the proper authorities on Monday. "Are you nervous?" she asked me as we reviewed everything for the last time. Terrified, I admitted, but also relieved, as if I were finally going to lift a huge weight off my shoulders. Natalia nodded understandingly. "Betrayal hurts, but living in ignorance hurts more. At least now you know the truth, and you can make decisions based on facts, not lies." She was right. For weeks I'd been living in two realities, the one Daniela and Tomas presented to me, and the truth Natalia had helped me discover. Tomorrow those two realities would collide. Saturday arrived with unusually cold weather for the season. I had booked a private room at a restaurant where we used to meet with friends. I invited 6 people besides Daniela, Tomas, and Natalia, 2 of my co-workers who knew my financial situation well. A friend of Daniela's from college who had always been skeptical of her behavior, Tomas's cousin who worked in the same financial sector, and 2 mutual friends who valued honesty above all else. Daniela arrived radiant, wearing a new dress I recognized as one of the $1,000 charges on my card. She clung to my arm as she greeted everyone, acting like the perfect girlfriend. Tomas appeared minutes later, giving me that brotherly hug that now turned my stomach. For the first hour, the dinner proceeded normally. Light conversation, laughter, anecdotes. I ordered expensive wine, the kind I normally avoided because of the price. "Today we celebrate," I announced when everyone asked about the special occasion. "Celebrate what exactly?" one of my coworkers asked. "Several important changes in my life," I replied, feeling Natalia's gaze from across the table. "But before I reveal everything, I want to toast to true friendship, to loyalty, and to justice." Everyone raised their glasses, though I noticed Tomas and Daniela exchanged an uncomfortable look. They probably thought I was being dramatic about the bonus. After the toast, Natalia stood up. "If you'll allow me, I'd like to add something to this special moment." She pulled a stack of folders from her bag. "Sebastian asked me to prepare these documents to share with you, his closest friends, because he believes in transparency and truth." Daniela's expression changed instantly. She turned pale. Tomas stiffened in his chair. Natalia began to distribute the folders. "What you're about to see here is documented evidence of fraudulent activities that have been occurring for the past 8 months, involving 2 people at this table." "What the hell is this?" Daniela exploded, but her voice trembled. "Wait your turn," I said firmly, surprising myself with my own calm. "Everyone's going to hear the whole story." Natalia continued to methodically explain each piece of evidence: the unauthorized expenses, the messages mocking me, Tomas's fraudulent loan, the escape plans to Cancun, everything. As she spoke, the expressions around the table went from confusion to shock to outrage. Daniela's college friend was the first to speak. "Is this true? Did you really do all this?" Daniela tried to defend herself. "They're taking everything out of context." "Sebastian, honey, can we talk about this in private? There's nothing to talk about." I interrupted her, and definitely not in private. "You had 8 months to talk to me in private. You chose to use that time to plan how to rob and destroy me." Tomas finally found his voice. "Sebastian, bro, this is a misunderstanding." "Don't call me bro," I said. And for the first time, I felt the contained rage begin to seep out. A brother doesn't do what you did. A brother doesn't use confidential information for fraudulent loans. A brother doesn't sleep with his supposed best friend's girlfriend in his own home. The silence that followed was absolute. I could hear Daniela's ragged breathing, the sound of papers being reviewed by our guests, the distant clinking of cutlery in the restaurant beyond our private room. Tomas's cousin, who worked in finance, dropped the documents on the table. "Tomas, did you use client information from your firm for this? Do you have any idea of the legal implications?" "And you?" Daniela's friend turned to her with evident disgust. "You always knew how to be manipulative, but this is another level." Daniela stood up abruptly, knocking over her chair. "You don't have to listen to this crap. Sebastian is resentful because, what?" I interrupted her, standing up as well. "Because I discovered my 4-year relationship was a lie. Because I found evidence that you planned to steal $50,000 from me. Because I realized you never loved me. You just loved what I could give you." Tears started streaming down her face, but they didn't move me anymore. "Everything is documented, Daniela. Every lie, every deception, every dollar you spent planning your future with my supposed best friend while I worked overtime to give you the life you asked for. Tomas tried to approach me. Look, we can resolve this another way. The resolution is already in motion. Natalia intervened with a professional voice. On Monday morning, this evidence will be presented to the corresponding authorities. Daniela will face charges for credit card fraud. Tomas will face an investigation from his firm and possible charges for the misuse of information to obtain loans. Both will have the opportunity to defend themselves legally, of course. Also, I added, feeling like I was finally regaining control of my narrative. I want all of you to be witnesses to this. Natalia and I have decided to form a business partnership. While they were planning to destroy me, we were building something real based on trust and mutual respect. The faces of Daniela and Tomas showed a mixture of disbelief and panic. They had bet that I would fall apart, that I would be the shattered victim who couldn't even function without them. Instead, I was stronger than ever, backed by someone who turned out to have more integrity in a week than they had in years. The dinner ended abruptly. Daniela ran out of the restaurant in tears, awkwardly followed by Tomas, who tried unsuccessfully to convince anyone, that it was all a misunderstanding. None of our friends believed him. The evidence was too solid, too detailed, too obvious. My coworkers stayed after everyone else left. Sebastian, one of them said, I had no idea what you were going through. You've been coming to work every day acting like everything was fine. Because if I fell apart, they would win, I replied simply, and I wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. The other coworker looked at Natalia with evident respect. Are you two really starting a company together? Natalia nodded. We already have the preliminary documents ready. Sebastian has the business talent, and I have the legal experience. We think we can offer something unique to the corporate market. That night, after everyone had left, Natalia and I stayed in the empty restaurant room. The staff was cleaning the other areas, giving us privacy. How do you feel? She asked me. Honestly, I'm not sure, I admitted. Part of me feels relieved, another part feels empty. For years of my life were a complete lie. Not everything was a lie, Natalia said, thoughtfully. The feelings you had were real. The experiences you lived were yours. Daniela and Tomas are the ones who lived the lie, not you. You loved genuinely. They just manipulated. Her words comforted me in a way I didn't expect. For weeks I had been questioning my own judgment, wondering how I didn't see the signs, how I could be so blind. But Natalia was right. I didn't do anything wrong. I trusted, I loved, and I committed. Honestly, they were the ones who chose betrayal. Monday arrived with the inevitability of a storm. Natalia formally presented all the evidence to the relevant authorities. The fraudulent credit card was reported to the bank, which immediately froze the account and opened an investigation. The loan Tomas had obtained using my name was reported, and his consulting firm was notified of the irregular activities of one of its employees. Meanwhile, I focused on closing chapters. I changed all my passwords, closed the shared accounts with Tomas, and moved my belongings out of the apartment I shared with Daniela. She tried to call me 53 times that day. I didn't answer any of them. Tomas was more direct. He showed up at my office 2 days later, desperate and visibly shattered. My assistant tried to stop him, but he insisted on seeing me. 5 minutes, I told him, allowing him into my office. You have 5 minutes to say what you came to say. He sat heavily in the chair across from my desk. Sebastian, please, I'm ruined. The firm suspended me while they investigate. The bank is demanding immediate repayment of the loan. I have no way. You should have thought of that before you used my name for fraudulent loans. I interrupted him coldly. Before you slept with my girlfriend in my own home, before you planned to steal my money. It was a mistake, he said, and had the nerve to sound sincere. Daniela manipulated me. She made me believe you didn't value her, that you were planning to break up with her. She said she needed someone who really understood her. Save your excuses, I said, standing up. You're an adult, Tomas. You made choices. Now face the consequences. Your 5 minutes are up. Please, he begged, also standing up. We were brothers. More than 10 years of friendship have to be worth something. You were right. I interrupted him, looking him straight in the eye. We were brothers. I considered you family, and you betrayed me in the cruelest way possible. That friendship died the moment you decided my girlfriend was worth more than our brotherhood. Sebastian, leave, I said firmly. And if you ever come near me or try to contact me again, Natalia will add a restraining order to the charges already filed. Do you understand? He left my office with his shoulders slumped, defeated. I didn't feel satisfaction seeing him like that. I only felt the weight of a friendship that was never what I thought it was. Daniela was more persistent. When the calls didn't work, she showed up at my new apartment, the one I had rented specifically so she wouldn't know where I lived. Somehow she found out the address. How did you find me? I asked when I opened the door and saw her standing there, haggard and desperate. I asked your mom, she admitted. Sebastian, we need to talk, please. We have nothing to talk about. Yes, we do, she yelled, attracting the attention of some neighbors. 4 years together have to mean something. You can't just throw everything away. I didn't throw anything away, I replied with deadly calm. You did it every time you slept with Tomas, every time you used my money to buy him gifts, every time you made fun of me with your friends. You destroyed what we had. It was a mistake, she sobbed. A terrible mistake that I regret every second. But I love you, Sebastian. I've always loved you. No, I cut her off. You don't love me. You love the stability I represented. You love the money you spent freely. You love the image of the perfect couple we projected. But me, the person I am, you never really knew me and you certainly never respected me. That's not true, she insisted, trying to take my hand. I pulled it away. You know what's the saddest part of all this? I said that if you had been honest from the beginning, if you'd had the courage to tell me you didn't want to be with me anymore, I would have respected that. It would have hurt, but I would have understood. Instead, you chose to lie, cheat, and plan to steal from me. That was your decision, Daniela, not mine. The bank is investigating me, she said, switching tactics to desperation. I could go to prison for the card fraud. Please, drop the charges. I'll pay you everything back. With what money? I asked. The one you were planning to steal from me. No, Daniela, you're going to face the consequences of your actions. And honestly, I hope that when this is over you've learned something about integrity. And if I go to jail, will that make you happy? She challenged me with bitterness. It won't make me happy, I admitted, but it will let me know there's justice in this world, that actions have consequences, that you can't just use and destroy people without facing repercussions. She stood there, tears running down her face, waiting for my heart to soften as it probably had so many times before. But that Sebastian, the one who gave in to her emotional manipulations, no longer existed. Goodbye, Daniela, I said and closed the door. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. While the legal system ran its course with Daniela and Tomas, Natalia and I focused on building our company. She formally resigned from the law firm where she worked, causing quite a stir, as she was one of their most talented lawyers. I negotiated my exit from the tech company, using my bonus to invest in our new business. Are you sure about this? My boss asked me when I submitted my resignation. Leaving a secure position for a startup is risky. I played it safe my whole life. I replied, and look where that got me. It's time to take a risk on something that's really worth it. Natalia and I worked 18-hour days. She handled the legal aspects and corporate connections. I developed the business and sales strategies. We complemented each other perfectly, our skills fitting together like puzzle pieces. A month after the dinner where we exposed Daniela and Tomas, we landed our first major client, a manufacturing company that needed both legal consulting for corporate restructuring and sales strategies to expand its market. The contract was worth $200,000. We did it, Natalia said when we signed the agreement, her smile wider than ever. I didn't correct her. We're doing it. This is just the beginning. She was right. Over the next 3 months, our firm grew exponentially. Natalia's connections in the corporate world, combined with my ability to identify and close business opportunities, created a powerful synergy. We hired 3 more employees. We moved the office to a larger space and established strategic partnerships with other complementary firms. Meanwhile, the lives of Daniela and Tomas unraveled in slow motion. The bank decided to press criminal charges against Daniela for credit card fraud. Although she eventually reached a plea deal that avoided prison, she was left with a criminal record, substantial fines, and a ruined reputation in the marketing industry. Tomas faced even more severe consequences. His firm not only fired him, but also sued him for breach of confidentiality and unfair competition. The fraudulent loan destroyed his credit score, and when his story leaked in financial consulting circles, no other company wanted to hire him. I found out about all this indirectly through mutual acquaintances. I didn't actively seek them out. but we lived in the same city and certain circles inevitably overlapped. Do you ever feel bad for them? Natalia asked me during a business dinner 6 months after all the initial drama. I thought carefully before answering. I don't feel sorry for the consequences they face. Those are the direct result of their decisions. But I don't feel joy at their suffering either. Mostly I feel nothing. They've stopped being relevant in my life. That's mature, she commented, taking a sip of wine. Or maybe it's that I'm too busy building something real to waste energy on the past. I suggested. Natalia smiled. Speaking of building, I got an interesting call today. Remember North Star Corporation? The logistics multinational. Of course, they're one of the big fish you said we might be able to land someday. Well, apparently our work with the manufacturing company impressed their COO. They want to meet with us to discuss a comprehensive consulting contract. It could be our first 7-figure client. The news left me speechless. In less than a year, we'd gone from an idea born of betrayal to a consulting firm attracting the attention of multinational corporations. You know what's ironic? I said after a moment. Daniela and Tomas thought that by destroying me, they were taking everything from me. In reality, they freed me to find something much better. You didn't just find something better, Natalia corrected. You built it with hard work, dedication, and by partnering with the right people. We raised our glasses in a silent toast. Not for revenge accomplished or for the suffering of our former traitors, but for the opportunities we had created from the ashes of betrayal. Karma had collected its debt. Yes. But more importantly, we had learned that the best response to betrayal wasn't to sink into bitterness or seek destructive revenge. It was to get up, dust yourself off, and build something so solid that it made everything that was lost irrelevant. 9 months after that fateful dinner, our consulting firm, which we'd named Meridian Strategies, had become a respected name in the corporate sector. We had 15 employees, offices in 2 cities, and a client portfolio exceeding $5 million annually. The success was tangible, measurable, real, but it was at a business conference in Mexico City where the past and present collided in the most unexpected way. Natalia and I were presenting a panel on synergy between legal services and business strategies to an audience of approximately 300 professionals from the corporate sector. Our presentation was going exceptionally well, with intelligent questions from the audience and several entrepreneurs requesting subsequent meetings. It was during the Q&A segment when I saw him. Tomas sitting in the 5th row, looking haggard and wearing a suit I recognized as one I had given him years ago. Our eyes met for a second before he looked away, clearly uncomfortable. I continued answering questions professionally, but a part of my mind couldn't stop processing his presence. What was he doing here? Had he come specifically to see us, or was it a coincidence? After the presentation, while Natalia and I spoke with potential clients, I noticed Tomas lingered on the sidelines waiting. When the crowd finally dispersed, he approached hesitantly. "Sebastian," he said, his voice barely audible. "Congratulations on your success. The presentation was impressive." "Thanks," I replied coldly, offering nothing more. Natalia, sensing the tension, discreetly excused herself. "I'm going to check the meeting schedule." "Excuse me." Once she was gone, Tomas continued. "I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but could we talk for just 5 minutes? I considered refusing, but curiosity won. 5 minutes. There's a terrace on the 2nd floor. We went up in silence. The terrace offered a panoramic view of the city, the setting sun painting the buildings in golden hues. We stood near the railing, maintaining a physical distance. "What are you doing here, Tomas?" I asked directly. "I work as an administrative assistant for one of the sponsoring companies," he admitted. And the weight of that confession was evident, from a financial consultant with promises of success to an administrative assistant. The fall had been brutal. "And you came to my presentation because I needed to see," he said, looking out at the city instead of at me. "I needed to see what you had built. I heard rumors about Meridian Strategies, about how you and Natalia were revolutionizing the sector. Part of me didn't believe it. And now that you've seen it," he turned to me, his eyes showing what seemed like genuine regret. "Now I completely understand what I destroyed. Not just our friendship, but the chance to be part of something real. You and Natalia have something solid, built on trust, while I have ashes from every bridge I burned. The consequences of your decisions," I said without particular emotion. "I know," he nodded. "And I didn't come to ask for forgiveness or seek reconciliation. I know that's impossible. I came because my therapist told me I needed to face what I did, to see the real impact of my actions. Therapist, yes. After everything collapsed, I hit rock bottom. Severe depression, suicidal thoughts. My family had me committed to a mental health program for 3 months. He paused. It was there that I finally came face to face with what I really was. A coward who destroyed his best friend's life out of pure selfishness. His words were raw, honest, in a way I hadn't expected, but they also came too late. I'm glad you're seeking help, I said sincerely. But that doesn't change anything between us. I know, he repeated. I just wanted you to know that what I did to you haunts me every day. That if I could turn back time, I'd give anything to make different decisions. But you can't turn back time, I pointed out. None of us can. We can only move forward with the consequences of our choices. Will you ever be able to forgive me? He asked, and there was real vulnerability in his voice. I considered the question carefully. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe someday. But that day isn't today, nor will it be soon. What you did not only hurt me, but it revealed that the person I trusted didn't really exist. And that betrayal isn't erased with apologies or regret, he nodded, accepting my response. Thanks for at least listening to me. That's more than I deserve. He started to walk away, but I stopped him with a question. And Daniela? He stopped, visibly tensing. We haven't spoken in months. After everything came to light, we tried to continue what we had planned, but it turns out a relationship built on betrayal and lies has no solid foundation. We destroyed each other in a matter of weeks. Where is she now? I'm not sure. I heard she moved to another city trying to start over. The criminal record made it impossible for her to get a job in marketing. He paused here. Ironic, isn't it? We planned our future together using your resources, and when we were finally together without you, we discovered we had nothing real. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Karma had worked exactly as Natalia predicted. People who operate solely for personal gain eventually end up alone. Take care, Sebastian, Tomas said finally. And seriously, congratulations on everything you've achieved. You deserve it. He left, leaving me alone on the terrace as the sun finished setting. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Not joy at his suffering, not satisfaction at his fall, but a sort of melancholic closure. The ghost of the friendship we once had finally been laid to rest. I found Natalia in the hotel lobby reviewing her tablet. She looked up as I approached. Are you okay? Yes, I replied, and was surprised to realize it was true. I just closed a chapter that needed to be closed. Tomas, I nodded. He's completely broken. And while part of me feels something for the friend he once was, most of me just feels free, as if I can finally let go of all that weight. Natalia smiled understandingly. That's good. Holding on to resentment only hurts you. It doesn't mean you have to forgive or forget, but letting go of the emotional weight allows you to move on completely. Tonight, during the conference's gala dinner, Natalia and I sat at the main table, surrounded by CEOs and directors of major companies. It was a completely different world from the one I had known just a year ago. During the event, the main conference organizer approached our table. Sebastian, Natalia, I have an interesting proposal for you. Would you be willing to be the keynote speakers at our conference next year? We want to focus on stories of successful entrepreneurship and business resilience. Natalia and I exchanged glances. We'd love to, she replied, but on one condition. What's that? We want to tell our full story, not just the business successes, but how we got here, the betrayal that brought us together, the difficult decisions we made, and how we turned a devastating situation into the foundation of something solid. The organizer seemed intrigued. That sounds fascinating. People connect more with authentic stories than with polished narratives of effortless success. After he left, Natalia looked at me thoughtfully. Are you comfortable sharing our story publicly? I think it's important, I replied, not to humiliate Daniela and Tomas, but to show that betrayal doesn't have to destroy you, that you can choose to get up, rebuild, and create something better, as long as it doesn't become our only narrative, Natalia added. We're more than just victims who overcame. We're successful entrepreneurs who built something valuable. Exactly. The conference continued with more networking opportunities. We secured 3 new potential clients and established connections with international firms interested in collaborations. Every conversation, every business card exchanged, every preliminary agreement was tangible evidence that we had not only survived the betrayal, but had thrived in spite of it. Later that night, back in my hotel room, I received a message from an unknown number. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but curiosity won. It was Daniela. I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your attention, but I saw photos of the conference on social media. You and Natalia look amazing, successful, happy. I'm happy for you, seriously, and I'm deeply sorry for all the damage I caused. I don't expect a response, I just needed to say it. I read the message several times. I didn't feel anger or pain, just a kind of quiet indifference. Daniela was now just someone I knew in another life, a person whose decisions led her down a different path from mine. I didn't reply. There was no need. Blocking the number would have been an emotional reaction. I simply left the message unanswered. I put my phone away and got ready for bed. Tomorrow there would be more meetings, more opportunities, more building of the empire Natalia and I were creating. The past had had its moment tonight, but the future remained infinitely more interesting. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought about how strange fate was. The worst betrayal of my life had turned out to be the catalyst for the best changes. Not because the betrayal was good or justifiable, but because it forced me to reevaluate everything, to surround myself with people of true integrity, and to take a risk on something that was really worth it. Justice doesn't always come in the way we expect. Sometimes it comes in the form of success so overwhelming that it makes everything that was lost along the way irrelevant. 18 months after that fateful night when I discovered the betrayal, Meridian Strategies had grown beyond any projection Natalia and I could have imagined. We had offices in 5 cities, 42 employees, and contracts with some of the most important corporations in Latin America. The contract with North Star Corporation, which initially seemed like an impossible dream, had materialized and expanded to become a permanent strategic partnership. But the real turning point came when I least expected it. During a business awards ceremony where our firm was nominated for Startup of the Year, the gala was held at the most luxurious hotel in the city with over 500 attendees from the corporate world. Natalia and I arrived together, she wearing an elegant navy blue dress and me in my best suit. We were partners in every sense of the word. Professionally, we complemented each other perfectly, and over time we had developed a deep friendship based on mutual respect and absolute trust. Nervous, she asked me as we entered the ballroom. A little, I admitted, but mostly excited. Regardless of whether we win, the simple fact of being nominated is validation of all the work we've done. We sat at our assigned table, surrounded by other finalists and personalities from the business sector. During dinner, several executives approached us to congratulate us on our journey and to ask about possible future collaborations. It was during the second course when I saw someone walk in that made me stop mid-bite. It was Rodrigo, my former boss from the tech company, accompanied by several members of the management team. He waved at me from his table and then made a gesture indicating he wanted to talk later. "Do you know someone at that table?" Natalia asked, following my gaze. "My old boss," I explained. "In fact, I owe much of my sales training to him. He was the one who gave me my first leadership opportunity. When it was time to announce the awards, the Startup of the Year category was one of the last. The presenter talked about each nominated company, highlighting their achievements and contributions to the sector. When it was our turn, hearing the description of everything we had built was surreal. Meridian Strategies, the presenter announced. Founded just 18 months ago by Sebastian Morales and Natalia Reyes, it has revolutionized the concept of comprehensive consulting. By combining corporate legal services with innovative business strategies, they have achieved 500% growth in their first year with projections suggesting international expansion for the next fiscal year. Natalia squeezed my hand under the table. We both knew that winning wasn't the most important thing, but it would be a beautiful validation of all the work and sacrifice. And the winner, as the presenter opened the envelope slowly, building the suspense. Meridian Strategies. The room erupted in applause. Natalia hugged me, both of us smiling with a mixture of shock and joy. We went up to the stage together, as we had done everything from the beginning, as equal partners. Natalia spoke first, thanking our team, our clients, and everyone who believed in our vision. When she passed me the microphone, I took a moment to look at the audience, processing the moment. 18 months ago I began. My life was in ruins. I faced a betrayal that left me questioning my judgment, my worth, and my future. But in the midst of that darkness, I found something unexpected, a partner who believed in me when I could barely believe in myself. I looked at Natalia, who was smiling with shining eyes. This award isn't just for business success. It's a testament to the fact that the worst situations can become the best opportunities if you choose to surround yourself with the right people, if you choose to get up instead of staying down, if you choose to build instead of destroy. The applause was genuine and prolonged. After the ceremony, we were surrounded by entrepreneurs, investors, and the media. Rodrigo, my former boss, finally managed to get close. Sebastian, Natalia, congratulations, he said warmly. Although I must admit I kicked myself when you resigned. I knew you were talented, but this, he gestured to the trophy. This exceeded all expectations. Thanks, Rodrigo. A lot of what I know I learned at your company. That's precisely what I wanted to talk about, he said, his tone becoming more serious. My company is considering a major restructuring. We need exactly the kind of comprehensive consulting you offer. Would you be interested in discussing a contract? Natalia and I exchanged glances. It would be our largest contract to date with a company I knew intimately. Definitely, I replied, schedule a meeting with my assistant for next week. As the night went on, I briefly excused myself to get some air on the hotel terrace. The city stretched out before me, lights twinkling like terrestrial stars. I thought about the whole journey since that night at the bar, when Natalia showed me the evidence of the betrayal. Reflecting on success, a voice asked from behind me. It was Natalia, holding 2 glasses of champagne about the journey. I corrected, accepting a glass about how the worst things sometimes lead us to the best places. Do you ever have regrets? She asked. About how we handled everything with Daniela and Tomas. And I considered the question seriously. No, we gave them exactly what they deserved, consequences proportional to their actions. We didn't destroy them for revenge. We simply allowed justice to run its course while we built something better. I've been thinking, Natalia said, looking out at the city, about expanding internationally. We have the solid foundation, the team, the contacts. What do you think about opening an office in Miami? Are you being serious? Completely. North Star Corporation has major operations there. Several of our clients have mentioned needs in that market, and honestly, I think we're ready. The idea was exciting and terrifying at the same time, but that combination had become familiar. Let's do it, I said, but with the same philosophy that brought us here. Sustainable growth, careful hiring, and never compromising our integrity for quick profits. Never, Natalia agreed, clinking her glass with mine. We returned to the ballroom, where the celebration continued. For the rest of the night, we signed 3 more preliminary agreements and made connections that would prove invaluable in the months to come. When the gala finally ended around midnight, Natalia and I shared a taxi back to our respective homes. The trophy rested between us on the back seat. You know what the best part of all this is? Natalia said as the taxi moved through the illuminated streets. What? That we built it ourselves? Every client, every contract, every success is ours, earned with honest work and real dedication. No one gave it to us. No one can take it away from us. She was right. Unlike Daniela and Tomas, who had tried to build their future on lies and stolen resources, we had created something solid on legitimate foundations. The difference in the results was clear. Weeks later, while we were working on the details for the Miami office, I received an unexpected email. It was from Tomas's mother, a woman who had always treated me like a son. Dear Sebastian, she wrote, I know I have no right to ask this of you after what my son did to you, but I'm writing not to excuse his actions, but to thank you. When everything collapsed, I thought Tomas would never recover. He hit rock bottom in ways I never imagined, but the consequences he faced, though painful, finally forced him to seek professional help. He's in intensive therapy, working on his issues of narcissism and destructive behavior. He has a modest but honest job, and for the first time in his life, he's learning to value real things instead of just seeking personal gain. I'm not asking you to forgive him or to re-establish contact. I just wanted you to know that in a strange way, your decision not to let him escape the consequences probably saved his life. With eternal gratitude, Elena. I read the email several times. I didn't feel satisfaction or fulfilled revenge, just a kind of peace in knowing that maybe, just maybe, something positive had emerged even from such a destructive situation. I showed the email to Natalia during our afternoon meeting. Are you going to reply? She asked. I'm not sure. Part of me wants to acknowledge her message, but another part feels that maintaining that distance is healthier. There's no right answer, Natalia said wisely. Do what brings you peace, not what you think you should do. I eventually decided to send a brief reply. Elena, thank you for your message. I'm glad to know Tomas is seeking help and genuine growth. I wish you both the best. Sebastian, it was enough. Not cold nor overly warm, just human. Life continued to move forward. The Miami office opened 6 months later with great success. Our team grew to 75 employees. The contracts kept coming, each one more ambitious than the last. 2 years after the initial betrayal, I found myself in a position I would have never imagined. Successful beyond my previous dreams, surrounded by a team of talented and loyal people, and with a partner who had become my best friend and closest confidant. One night working late at the office with Natalia, while we reviewed projections for the next quarter, she paused and looked at me thoughtfully. Do you ever think about what your life would be like if Daniela had never betrayed you? I considered the question honestly. Sometimes I'd probably still be at my old job, comfortable, but not particularly happy. I'd probably have married Daniela eventually, never knowing who she really was. I'd probably never have discovered what I'm capable of. So, are you grateful? Not for the betrayal itself. I clarified. That was cruel and unjustifiable, but I'm grateful for what I chose to do afterward, for finding you as a partner, for having the courage to take a risk, for building this. I gestured around us, at the office that represented all our work. Natalia smiled. You know, when I told Daniela that what she was doing was despicable and she blocked me, I thought I had lost my best friend. It turns out I just made space to find better friends. Including you. We clinked our coffees in a silent toast, as we had done so many times before. Karma had worked out perfectly. Daniela and Tomas had lost everything they tried to build on lies, while Natalia and I had created an empire based on truth. 3 years after that night that changed everything, I found myself standing on the balcony of our new corporate headquarters, a 10-story building in the financial district where Meridian Strategies occupied the top 3 levels. The view was spectacular. The city stretched out in all directions, a tangible reminder of how far we had come. Meridian Strategies now had a presence in 8 countries with over 200 employees and contracts exceeding $50 million annually. Natalia and I had been on the cover of 3 major business magazines, and our comprehensive consulting model had become the standard that other firms tried to replicate. But beyond the numbers and recognition, what I valued most was the culture we had built. Every employee was treated with respect. Integrity wasn't just a corporate value printed on a wall, but a daily practice. And loyalty was earned through actions, not demanded with empty words. My phone vibrated with a message from Natalia. Board of Directors meeting in 10 minutes. Don't be late, partner, I smiled. 3 years, and we still operated like a Swiss watch, anticipating each other's needs and complementing our strengths perfectly. I went down to the boardroom where our executive team was already gathered. We had hired exceptional talent. Patricia, our COO, had come from one of the largest consulting firms in the country. Marco, our CFO, was a genius at projections and fiscal strategy. And Sophia, our HR director, had created professional development programs that made our employee retention rate enviable in the industry. All right, Natalia began once everyone was seated. We have important news. Global Tech Corporation has made us an extraordinary offer. Global Tech was one of the largest tech companies in the world with operations in over 50 countries. Over the past year, we had handled several projects for them with exceptional results. Do they want us to handle their complete restructuring throughout Latin America? Natalia continued. It's a 5-year contract with an initial value of $120 million. The silence in the room was absolute. Patricia was the first to speak. That's transformative, but it would also require expanding our team significantly. Exactly, I nodded. That's why we want your opinion before making a decision. This contract would take us to a whole other level, but it would also change the nature of our company. We'd no longer be an emerging boutique firm, we'd be major players. For the next hour, we discussed the implications, the risks, the opportunities, the necessary resources, the impact on our corporate culture. In the end, the decision was unanimous. We were ready. That night, as we celebrated with the executive team at an exclusive restaurant, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I normally didn't answer unknown calls, but something made me respond. Sebastian, the voice was familiar, but different, softer, less self-assured. Daniela, I replied, surprised. I hadn't heard from her in over 2 years. Yes, I know this is unexpected. I saw your picture in a business magazine today. You and Natalia on the cover, the partners who revolutionized comprehensive consulting. I was happy for you. I excused myself from the others and went out to the restaurant's terrace for privacy. How are you, Daniela? Better, she said, and there was something genuine in her voice. I've been in therapy for a year, working as an event coordinator for a small company. It's not glamorous, but it's honest, and I'm learning to be okay with that. I'm glad to hear it, Sebastian. I know I don't deserve your time, but I called because my therapist is helping me make peace with my past. And you deserve to know that I finally understand what I did. Not just that it was wrong, but why it was wrong. And why was it wrong? I asked, genuinely curious. Because I treated you like an object instead of a person. Because I valued money and superficial excitement over integrity and respect. Because I thought I could use people without consequences. She paused. And because I lost something real for something fake. Tomas and I destroyed each other in months because we never had anything solid. We just had secrets and lies. Where is Tomas now? I don't know. We haven't spoken in over a year. I think he moved to another city. I heard he's also in therapy working on his own issues. She took a deep breath. Sebastian, I'm not calling to ask for forgiveness or reconciliation. I know that's not possible or appropriate. I just wanted you to know that your decision not to let us escape the consequences, to expose us and set clear boundaries was probably the best thing that could have happened to us. It forced us to face who we really were. I appreciate you telling me that, I replied sincerely. And I'm glad to know you're working on yourself. You two built something beautiful, Daniela said. Something Tomas and I could never have created because we didn't have the right foundation. You deserve all the success you have. After we hung up, I stayed on the terrace for a moment processing the conversation. I didn't feel triumph or fulfilled revenge, just a kind of peaceful closure. Daniela and Tomas had faced the consequences of their actions. They had hit rock bottom, and now they were trying to rebuild themselves as better people. That was all that justice required. I returned to the table where Natalia looked at me questioningly. Everything okay? Everything's perfect, I replied, sitting down. Just closing the last chapter of an old story. 6 months later, while Natalia and I were in Sao Paulo overseeing the opening of our Brazil office, we received an unexpected invitation. The university where both Tomas and I had studied wanted to honor us as outstanding alumni and asked us to give a lecture on entrepreneurship and business resilience. Do you want to do it? Natalia asked, showing me the invitation. I think so, I replied after thinking about it. Not to show off, but because maybe our story can help other students who are facing betrayals or failures. The lecture was 3 weeks later in the university's main auditorium. More than 500 students filled the space along with professors and alumni. Natalia and I shared the stage, telling our story with brutal honesty. The betrayal, the pain, the difficult decisions, and finally the success built on solid foundations. The most important lesson we learned, Natalia said towards the end, is that revenge should never be your goal. Justice, yes. Appropriate consequences, yes. But building something better than what you lost will always be more satisfying than destroying those who hurt you. The worst betrayals, I added, can become the best catalysts if you choose to respond with integrity instead of bitterness, if you choose to build instead of destroy, if you choose to surround yourself with people who share your values instead of just your interests. During the question session, a student raised his hand. Did you ever forgive the people who betrayed you? Natalia and I looked at each other. That's a complex question, I replied. Letting go of resentment isn't the same as forgiving. I let go of the resentment because holding on to bitterness only hurt me. But forgiving, that implies restoring trust, and that's not possible after certain betrayals. What we can do, Natalia added, is wish for those people to find peace and growth in their own lives while we maintain healthy boundaries in ours. After the lecture, while we were signing copies of a book we had written about our business model, a professor approached us. Sebastian, Natalia, your story is inspiring, but I think the most powerful thing is that you don't glorify revenge. You show that true success comes from construction, not destruction. That night, back at the hotel, Natalia and I toasted with red wine, celebrating not only our business achievements, but the entire journey that had brought us here. You know what's ironic? I said, looking at my glass. Daniela and Tomas thought that by betraying me, they were taking away my future. In reality, they freed me to find a much better one. No, You didn't just find a better one, Natalia corrected. You built it. We built it. She was right. Meridian Strategies wasn't a stroke of luck or a successful revenge. It was the result of hard work, ethical decisions, alliances based on mutual respect, and the determination to create real value instead of just chasing profits. Today, when I look back at that night at the bar, when Natalia showed me the evidence of the betrayal, I see not an end, but a beginning. The end of a life built on lies I didn't know about, and the beginning of an authentic life built on solid foundations. Daniela and Tomas ended up exactly where their decisions led them, alone facing the consequences of having valued personal gain over integrity. Meanwhile, Natalia and I built an empire based on opposite values, surrounded by people who chose loyalty, honest work, and mutual respect. Karma doesn't always come quickly, but it always comes. And when it does, it's relentless with those who build on lies while rewarding those who choose the truth, even when it hurts. What do you think of this story? Have you ever faced a betrayal that forced you to rebuild your life from scratch? I'd like to know your perspective in the comments. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining me until the end.